Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast from The Sober Club. I'm Janie Grace, and this is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. We'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there's inspiration from quit-lit authors, experts, and sober heroes. Hi, and welcome to the podcast. This is Janie Lee Grace, and Happy New Year to you. I hope you had a fantastic one. And thank you so much to all of you who sent me wishes on my 2-year soberversary. Such a thing, really such a thing. And I'm so grateful. And I remember actually when I was just a few months sober, meeting up with Zoe Ball at something we were doing at the BBC. And she had just had her 2-year soberversary, and I remember thinking, wow, I wonder if I'll get there. It seemed so unattainable somehow back then. So it's just amazing, and I really hope that I can inspire you, whatever stage you're at, to keep going. A few members in the Sober Club are ahead of me. Susie was 3 years sober on the same day, I think, so huge congratulations, and thank you again to everyone who said nice things. It really has been an incredible couple of years for me. And as I said in a couple of my posts, year one, when I think back now, really was about healing and recovery and transformation. And as I've said many times, I didn't tell anyone. That's not something I recommend, but I didn't. I kept it really quite secret. And I eventually came out, but I still felt really quite shaky. Certainly didn't feel able to share it with too many people, and not professionally. Eventually, I did come out with my little nervous YouTube video when I was about 8 months. But that year really was a kind of a settling in year. And then, of course, during my second year sober, obviously I've been going for it, running the podcast and doing my TED Talk, launching the Sober Club. Hard to believe the podcast will be a year old at the end of January. Absolutely amazing. On the one hand, it feels like it's been going longer than that. And on the other hand, it's gone by so quickly. But thank you to all of you who've been part of my 2-year journey. It's been absolutely incredible. It really, really has. And I'm just really grateful for everyone who's supported me and inspired me, and to all of you for listening to these podcasts. I can't tell you what it means to be. It's such a labour of love for me. And I feel such gratitude that I get amazing guests, and I get, just people say lovely things and give me great feedback. So thank you again. And if you are new and you haven't written a review for me yet, please do. Please go on Apple Podcasts and write a review, because it makes a really big difference. Whatever you did this new year, I hope you are feeling good and feeling positive about the year ahead, and you've set your intentions, or you're going to. I'll say again, for what it's worth, that you've probably read blog posts that I've written, or maybe you've seen something on Instagram, but I am not a fan of New Year's resolutions. I hate the word. I think it sets us up to fail when we say we're going to resolve to do something. Something feels negative about it for me from the off, partly because I know from personal experience that I've failed just about every New Year's resolution I've ever tried to set, because by their nature we tend to make them unrealistic. And I think it's so much better to focus on what's worked for you in the past year and what it is you want. So a lovely ritual is to take some time, if you haven't yet, to just meditate on what's gone. Just think about, okay, let's review the year. What did work for me last year? If you had some time in sobriety, if you were sober last year, then fantastic. Pat yourself on the back and review how that went. Maybe if you were conscious about your drinking for part of the year and you had some times when you were alcohol free, think about how that felt. So think about what went well for you and what the good bits were, your happiest times, how you felt personally, the best kind of mindset state you were in, if you like. And then think about, okay, what might I do differently? If anything, what worked for me? What do I want to carry on doing? What do I want for 2020? How will I deal differently with the challenges that I faced last year? The great bits of last year, how can I keep them coming? Were there habits that I let go of? How can I make sure that I don't bring them back? What do I want to embrace? What do I want to embody as I move into 2020? What miracles do I want to happen? These kind of questions are just great for just jotting down, and I'd suggest that you get a notebook and you write these things down by hand, because it's really good for the cognitive brain to just write this stuff down. You can maybe light a candle and make a little ritual of it. But whatever it is, just review the year that's gone and reflect on what worked for you, what didn't work, and then look forward. Plan your 2020 vision and set your intentions, but make them realistic. Set some goals that are going to work for you, and then put in place the steps that you need to action in order to get to where you want to be. So I'm always going on about the importance of a sober toolkit, but I think there's never been a better time. If you haven't already got your sober toolkit in place, then try and think about getting this for yourself. It's really very straightforward. It's just prepping for what's going to happen for you. It's what are your resources? What are the things that you're going to need? So obviously, good nutrition is really important. Make sure you eat well. Whatever stage of sobriety you're at, your brain chemistry is probably all over the shop and you'll probably crave sugar. So see if you can think ahead for a healthier option for that. If you've got a sweet tooth, then think what else you can put in place to hit that spot that's not going to be as unhealthy for you. Notebooks are amazing. Don't underestimate the power of a beautiful notebook and keeping a gratitude list can be great. A sober app is a great thing to have so that you can count your sober days. And I've said this before, but the money saving thing is fabulous. So if you have a little jar or a vase that you can put actual money into that you would have spent on alcohol. There was a report, wasn't there, in the press just a few days ago saying that dry January, people doing dry January can typically save enough for a weekend in Amsterdam. And then there was something about if you give up for 90 days, you can have a all-inclusive week somewhere. There was a whole list of holidays in this research, this story that came out in the press. Of course, I took issue with it because their choice of language was all around, those who sacrifice the booze for 90 days will have this and this. So I thought the language of the piece was wrong, because clearly you're not giving anything up, you're only gaining. But anyway, back on saving money. Put your money into a jar, a glass vase or a jar, and just watch it mount up and be super proud of yourself. Keep that gratitude list, as I say. And then a good way to think of your sober toolkit is to think, okay, I want something physical. So some snacks, something that I love to eat that is healthy and it's good for me, or great alcohol-free drinks if you're going to be going somewhere where you can't necessarily access the alcohol-free drinks you want. Even some really cool tea bags. Great thing to carry around with you, whatever is your favourite alcohol-free drink. Have something digital, so that app that I mentioned, I use something called I Am Sober, but there are lots of them out there. Something inspirational. This is a hugely important one if you're at the beginning of this journey. If you are doing dry January or you're just starting out, make sure you get inspired. It is critical. Listen to podcasts. There are loads and loads available. Read Quit Lit, the amazing memoirs. I've mentioned so many of them. I've interviewed so many of the authors. So do listen back to some of these podcasts, because there's a whole archive of them, almost a year's worth. And most of the fabulous Quit Lit authors I've been lucky enough to have as a guest. So listen back to some of my earlier podcasts with Claire Pooley, author of The Sober Diaries, Catherine Gray, author of The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober. I've interviewed Lisa, girl works out of a bar, Belle, tired of thinking about drinking, Shiru Azadi, Dr. David Hamilton. I mean, just masses of great people. So do listen back to some of those podcasts. And read their books as well. But then also think about something a little bit more academic. So in addition to the memoirs, read one of the books that explain in great detail what alcohol really does to us and how it affects us. So books like Alcohol Explained by William Porter. Again, William's been a guest a couple of times on the podcast. Books like Alan Carr's The Easy Way to Stop Drinking. They're a little more academic in their approach, not so much about the person's story, but more about what alcohol really does to your system. And I think it's a fantastic thing to do, to have a mix of both. So do the academic bit and the inspiration, as it were. And then have something social. And this is really important. Plan to go to a sober meetup. There are so many around, including the Mindful Drinking Festival, of course, which I'll tell you about in a moment. Or join an online community. Come and join us in the Sober Club, or there are many free ones online as well. So there's your suggestion for a sober toolkit. I really hope that helps you. If you are doing dry January, I know there'll be lots of people just tuning in for the first time because they've decided to do dry January. Pat yourself on the back. It is amazing. Stick at it. This is the hardest time, so try and plan to do longer than just 30 days. But really importantly, get yourself that sober toolkit, get inspired, and stay connected. There is so much support out there for you. If you were interested in joining the Sober Club, we do have our online course, Get the Buzz Without the Booze. So that comes as part of the course, and you can work through that course. And also within our Facebook group, there's a whole bunch of people starting again or starting afresh on January the 1st. So we'll be regularly checking in with how people are getting on. Anyways, time to tell you about my guest, who is Laura Willougby. I think Laura was the very first podcast guest I ever had almost a year ago. Obviously, Laura is the founder of Club Soda, along with Yussi. And now they have this absolutely amazing book. They're going to do so well with this, and so deserved, because it's very much a community book. They've encouraged lots of people from the Club Soda community to share their story within the book. It's full of tips, absolutely perfect for you if you're at the start of your journey or wherever you're at, really. So enjoy the interview. Welcome, Laura Willougby from Club Soda. Great to have you with us, and just so exciting that your book is out. How to be a mindful drinker, cut down, stop for a bit, or quit. And there it is for anyone watching on camera. But if you're not on camera, it looks really good. It's very funky cover. You must be really thrilled, because this project has probably been a long time coming for you and the whole community, really.
Yeah, and it's actually come from a big piece of research we did with Club Soda at the start of 2019, which was funded by the Wellcome Trust, which is a big health charity. So there's a lot of good science in it and a lot of good learning.
Excellent.
I'm going to tell you a secret, Janie.
Go for it.
I think the audio book is even better than the printed book.
So cool,
all the people who did case studies read their own case studies in it.
Oh, that's nice.
And me, Andrew, and Anya, and Yussi all do bits of reading. So it will feel a bit like a friendly, extended podcast.
Yeah.
There's some really nice interviews in there as well. So
yeah, cool. And I mean, I think that's one of the things that's quite unique about the book, that it you know, although you have a fantastic story and loads of knowledge, it actually isn't just your thing. It's very much a kind of community book, isn't it?
It's a book. The author is the Club Soda community. Everyone's inputted into this in some way, either through the research or through sharing quotes about their journey, or a case study. So this isn't this many pages about my story. That would be very boring, I feel, but is in fact a manual about how to get started and how to do it. And I think that's the difference, and that's really important to us as Club Soda. We bring all that knowledge together into one book.
So just for anyone who may not, you know, maybe this is their first podcast of this kind that they're listening to. So for anyone who's not clued in, just take us back a bit and tell us about Club Soda and how long you've been going and the kind of work that you do, for anyone who's not up to speed.
Well, Club Soda, the idea for it came about after I gave up drinking, which is, gosh, it will be nearly 8 years ago.
Wow.
Can't believe that it's actually that long ago, and I haven't drunk alcohol for that long.
Wow.
But I realised when I gave up and started to tell people that I'd changed my drinking habits, that people asked me how. And I realised there was a big disconnect in what we've got available in society. So there's the local drug and alcohol services, which are open 9 to 5, which you go to if you've got a serious problem. But there wasn't anything in the middle that felt a bit like Weight Watchers, but with booze, and that focus on the benefits of change. So we're aimed at people who have already decided to change something, and we will help them do that. So no continually battering you over the head about you know, what the harms of alcohol are. People who join Club Soda generally know what they are. It's all about the positive benefits of change, be that in your health or your productivity or your relationships or your money, but focusing on that life you want to lead and how you might get there, and how changing drinking might be part of that.
Yeah, and obviously the title of the book's really important, How to Be a Mindful Drinker. So let's just talk about this word mindful. I mean, as you say, we all understand this theory of being at rock bottom and rocking up to the drug and alcohol services. We're now, you know, more of us are becoming much more aware of this spectrum, if you like, of grey area drinkers. But what does it mean to be a mindful drinker then?
Well, I think it's a useful word, and actually a word we started using by accident, because we launched our pub guide, which is clubsodaguide.com, and because we talk about low as well as no alcohol, we couldn't use the word, I want to call it a guide for healthier drinkers, but we can't use the word healthier if we're talking about alcohol. So mindful became the word that we used, but I really love it even more now, because if you're I'm an alcohol-free mindful drinker. Other people may be a moderate mindful drinker. Some people may call themselves a mindful drinker because they've never drunk before or don't drink for religious reasons. It feels like a term that we can all use, and then we can attach our own individual identity to. So I really like it for that reason, which is it's got that real feel of we're a community of people. We've got slightly differing habits, but we're aligned in what we want to see at the end, and that's often in really good drinks, or a world that at least reflects that we exist and we want to do something differently.
And on that note, of course, you run the mindful drinking festivals, which are just absolutely incredible. And, you know, of course, they've grown over the years. And
we've only done it so that you can have a platform, Janie.
Yeah, well, totally. And I love it. I mean, I just love it. It's so inspiring. And the first one that I came to, I mean, I just couldn't believe I'd only been I'd only quit the booze a few months, and I couldn't believe the amount of alcohol-free drinks
and
on
there's
the market.
Even more there this January on the 18th and 19th.
So you must have seen a huge change over the last couple of years in this whole industry, in this whole arena.
So Club Soda's 5 years old this January, and in 2015 we did a bit of research that was funded by Hackney Council on how to get pubs to change the way they treated their non-drinking customers. And what's fascinating about that is because it came from the fact that everyone moaned about the fact that all that was available was Coke and lemonade. And really, that's all that was available 5 years ago. And then about a year after we did that research, Heineken Zero came out, and then it all sort of escalated from there. So from there being absolutely nothing to lots of choice and lots of pubs doing everything from stocking kombucha to alcohol-free beers and spirits. You know, that's the work suddenly, and that's a really big shift.
Yeah,
and it's exciting.
It is. It's hugely exciting, and I know that when it comes to sort of moderation, well, let's just look at the word moderation, because it's a question that a lot of people ask. Maybe they're thinking of dry January or sober for October or whatever is going on, doing a challenge, stopping for a while, and then often what's in their mind is, can I moderate? So what's the answer to that?
Well, the answer is it is possible. I've seen people do it, but you only know when you begin to try. And that's trying more than just going, oh, right, from next week I'm going to cut down, but by actually having a cast iron plan. And in fact, if you're going alcohol free, you also need a plan. Change only happens when you plan for it, you think about it, you focus on it, you actually immerse yourself in it. And so the book actually takes you from a starting point. It says, what sort of life is it that you want to lead? What is it you want to achieve? Because often we're very good at the headline, I want to cut down drinking, or I want to quit drinking, but we don't understand why it is that we want to do it, what we hope to see, feel and think as a result of doing that. You know, we've got people in Club Soda who want better relationships with their grandchildren, people who want to start up businesses, people who just want to lose weight and look younger. Whatever it is, the goal is more than just the headline itself. And being able to focus on what it is that you want out of changing your drinking, rather than just saying, right, I need to cut down, will really help you, whether it's cutting down or going alcohol free.
And I'm guessing, sorry, carry on. No, carry on.
And I do suggest that you take a month off, even if you're planning to moderate, because you will learn a lot about when it is that you drink, why it is that you drink, who the people that trigger you are, the places that make you feel awkward if you're not drinking, all that sort of stuff. You can begin to work out where you might want to cut out drinking. And the other thing is that most people want to moderate because they can't even contemplate doing a wedding or a party or a Friday evening out without drinking. But of course, unless you learn to do those without drinking, you can't learn to moderate, because you need to understand that you can do those evenings and the sky won't fall in, and there are other things that you can achieve. So taking some time out really does help at the beginning.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that in the book, that's what you share, are these various different ways of determining your big why, as we've said, and also planning for how you're going to at least do that challenge period.
Yeah, and definitely understanding how you already drink, understanding that willpower isn't a thing that exists. It's something that you can't just do this on willpower alone. Understanding why you're doing something, and then how you might get started. So making that plan, thinking through the obstacles that might get in the way, looking at the things that you want to measure about your life to see if you improve. And it is really important that you focus on some of those small things. Did you get more done this week? Did you snap less at people that you love this week? Did you have a few more pounds in your pocket at the end of the week? Because when you're doing something hard, like taking something that's actually addictive out of your daily routine, then you need to be able to focus on the small improvements as well as the big ones. And unfortunately, everyone, you're not going to shed 2 stone immediately.
Exactly, even though I hoped I would.
No, well, it might take a bit longer.
Yeah, exactly.
And you might need to smash those Haribo in your face for the first few weeks.
But also, it's interesting that you say that, though, because, focusing on the small things, I think that's a fantastic idea, because I think that what can often happen is people get through a few weeks, or we talk about the pink cloud, don't we, sometimes, how you get to that point where everything's amazing and you feel great, and then all of a sudden it all comes crashing down and real life kicks in, and then all of a sudden there's something that's not so great, or you feel a bit down or a bit depressed, or something horrible happens, or someone says something nasty to you, or you're sober shamed, or whatever it is, and immediately the thought is, well, why am I bothering to do this? I may as well just drink. And I think most of us forget that when we were drinking, we had crap times as well.
Yeah, and it's certainly worth knowing, first of all, how your emotions trigger you to drink, but also that there will be a point where ambivalence may kick in, where you've forgotten how bad it was.
Yeah.
And you think you've got it sorted now because you've got a few good weeks under your belt. I'll try and moderate, and then do that without a plan. And it all comes tumbling down. I do see changing your drinking as being this personal experiment where you are both the scientist and the subject, and you really need to think it through. It's not just enough to say, oh, well, I'm just going to try and moderate and see what happens, without there being a plan in place and understanding what about your plan worked and what didn't.
Yeah. So, and I'm guessing in the book that you very much recommend connection and having some kind of connection with others, whether that's meeting people physically or obviously online through Club Soda.
Yeah, we've got a big bit that's all about drinking and other people. And that's not just about how to avoid those annoying people that try and push you to drink, but I believe that meeting other people, connecting with other people, be it through a podcast, an online community, or in real life, even more so in real life, is like the superfood of behaviour change. You get to see people maybe a bit further on the journey than you, and see that the sky hasn't fallen in, and actually they're quite happy and it's okay. But you also have some sort of accountability towards other people who are sharing their journey with you. And you get to ask real questions to real people. I always joke about government gives advice on changing drinking that says, how about not drinking the whole bottle of wine tonight?
And have an alcohol-free day.
And have it and save the other half for tomorrow.
Like that's going to happen.
That's advice that's come from a person who's never tried to stop drinking, right? So real advice from real people who are very similar to you is really important. And so you need to find your tribe. And Club Soda is one of those, and we might not be right for everybody, but find people you like to hang out with, who you can share your stories with, who you feel accountable to, and do take opportunities to meet new people.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people feel they may lose friends, or feel anxious about feeling lonely, which is often why we drink as well.
Yeah.
But actually, there is an amazing world of people out there who are desperately wanting to make new sober friends, and that's great too.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of timeline, obviously, looking back, because you're a good few years ahead of me, but what do you think is the kind of, I don't know, I'm not going to say how long does it take, because it's how long is a piece of string, but it is a question that I'm often asked is when do you get to a point where you feel just more settled? I mean, I know that for me in the early months, I did feel absolutely chaotic. I mean, I now know that partly it was because I didn't look after myself. I didn't tell anyone, which didn't help.
Yeah.
I didn't really look after myself. I didn't sort out any of the brain chemistry stuff. So I didn't exactly get those things right. But I was on an absolutely emotional roller coaster. I felt totally raw, chaotic, grumpy, irritable, for a good few months, actually. I slept crap.
And that's also because you had, those were withdrawal symptoms in some respects.
True.
They're withdrawal symptoms from not having alcohol, but they're also the symptom of taking something out of your diet that you've had in it for ages and feeling grumpy that you can't have what you want.
Yeah.
That's that discomfort that we feel. And it's really important to know that it is just discomfort. It won't kill you and it will get better. But I think there's some really important markers for me. The first 3 months, I slept a lot and I drank lots of water. It's like my body was going, you know what, you haven't really drunk very much water for 20 years. How about you give it a go? And at the end of that 3 months, I was volunteering on the Olympics. So quite frankly, I felt like an athlete when I was going, I'm in the Olympic stadium at 6 a.m. I have not seen 6 a.m. for years, unless it was the end of a late night out, So I actually had a real high point that I really cared about. I really cared about volunteering at the Olympics. I had a real high point at the end of my 3 months. So definitely, you should be able to feel your energy come back at 3 months or around that time. So definitely arrange something good to do that. But listen to your body up until that point. 9 months, I think my brain came back into gear. I began to, I'm somebody who's always been very politically active, and I had begun to not engage with the issues because it was just too much hard work. Mind you, it's feeling a bit like that again right now. But anyway, but I began to be able to think deeply, constructively, and even be able to not respond. When I talk about being an activist, I see a problem, I want to fix it. There's a problem in the office, I want to fix it. I have a feeling, I want to do something about it immediately, which is why sometimes people moan about my emails. But I began to be able to stop myself and think a bit more critically about how I was responding to things and how I felt about things, and to even be a little bit more patient.
Yeah.
Then that's at 9 months. Then at 12 months, I started dating again. That was during definitely a very pink, fluffy cloud moment. And I can only tell you that what I had was a high on top of a high on top of meeting some really new people who made me feel fabulous, who've not managed to escape from me ever since. But also high on the fact that, you often drink to amplify feelings of happiness. Well,
yeah. It's like something good has happened, or I must have a drink.
Those feelings, through being in, that feeling, those feelings of love and acceptance and being wanted were really high. So that was a really good turning point. And then actually it was 3 years before, when I had a really difficult emotional situation, my first thought wasn't alcohol. So it can take some time for all the all that hard wiring in your brain to unpick itself. And there are still occasions where I have a little bit of, I surprise myself with thinking, oh, well, maybe I could have one. But it's a very fleeting thought, and I'm more curious about it. Why is it I suddenly feel that now? Often it's at very small, intimate occasions rather than big, large parties, funnily enough.
Yeah.
I still have drinking dreams.
Do you really? Oh, wow. The drinking dreams are so weird, aren't they?
And I had one.
You think, oh, thank you, God.
I had one the other day, and sometimes I dream that I'm getting members of Club Soda drunk. I have drinking dreams.
That wouldn't be very responsible,
Laura.
It would
not be, but it's amazing how your brain works. I guess that's partly because I'm still thinking about this subject day in and day out, so it's a very common thing for me. But it probably also is a stress dream for me, to be honest. And so, along with those dreams about your teeth falling out, are signs of other things going on. So
it is fascinating, though, how long it takes, really. I mean, I'm not sure I would have wanted to know this at the beginning, but it's probably quite useful because, particularly when you very first start out and you think that everything's going to be sorted within a couple of months, you're going to feel amazing, everything's good, but actually it takes a long time. But that's not to say that the good stuff's not coming all the while. It is, but the kind of settling takes a long time.
But if you think about it as why it's a bigger investment. So first of all, you're getting rid of something that's clouded your judgment and made you slow and sluggish for years.
Yeah.
And there is a theory that your emotional development is stunted from the time that you start drinking, because of course you've dealt through every emotional situation with alcohol.
Yeah. And for some people, they start drinking when they're 14.
Oh, I was about to say, I started drinking at 14.
Well, there you go. So you've got to completely learn who you are as a person, as an adult.
So it's not only that I changed my drinking and got rid of a substance from my life. I then had to learn a lot more about my emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
I had space to reflect on that. And so loads of those are gifts. They're not hard things.
Yeah.
They're not things they are things that I didn't, often when you think, oh my God, I need to work on my emotional intelligence, I need to get a book and read about it and have plans and stuff. Just by being sober, I was able to deal with that and be more reflective and take time.
Yeah.
It's still giving to me now. So for example, I didn't lose weight immediately. I did lose some weight after 9 months when I gave up the Red Bull. But I then put the weight back on again, slowly. And then I've now taken it off again. And then I've put a little bit more back on. But I needed all these things to be in place to make me a more resilient whole person. So that I created the right foundations for losing weight or learning something new or taking on a new challenge. And so it still gives me, because I would not be able to do anything I'm doing 7 years on if I started drinking again. It doesn't matter that everything didn't happen immediately, because actually if I think about my personal self-development over the last 7 years, everything has been building blocks on top of blocks on top of blocks, and which means that I am altogether a far better person and a nicer person and the person that I really thought I was. And I guess it's a really important thing to say, which is that one of the most important things for me is I feel is getting back to the values that were important to me. So I think that's really important. Sometimes it's not about the headlines around losing weight and saving money that you need to think about. It's about what are the things that are important to you and how can you get back to them. So spending time with people, listening to people, helping other people. I love collaboration. Episode is very collaborative in its approach, and I like working with people and encouraging other people to do things well. Makes me happy. That's a value that's incredibly important to me. That's not something you would put on a New Year's resolution list. I want to help other people be brilliant. But I've just, I've got the energy to do all those things now. And so I can live my life by the values that are important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is so true. It's these the ways that you change. I mean, we talk about the benefits of, clearer skin and better sleep and better sex and all of that stuff, as the kind of headlines. But actually it really is that deeper stuff. And they can be things that as you say, you hadn't even necessarily thought of, but it can be those little things of just being calmer, not making everything a drama, being able to actually bother to book your dental appointment when you've been putting it off for 3 years. There's lots and lots and lots of that minutiae that you feel more able to do.
And because chaos isn't always you're in the gutter rolling around drunk. Chaos is those small things that you miss every day that build up and make you feel like you're not organised and that you haven't got time.
Yeah.
And so recognise those things and write them down and recognise that they are because you're no longer hungover most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that you ever stop thinking about being sober? I mean, of course, it's your work, so you're thinking about it all the time, and it's kind of my work a lot of the time now, so I'm thinking about it all the time. But do you think that you do stop or not? Because I thought I guessed up until recently, I thought, oh well, it's only because I'm working in this. If I wasn't working in this kind of field, if I wasn't doing any of this stuff I'm doing, it just is who I am, and I will never think about it again, really, unless I'm just in a bar. It won't be in my mind. But then other stuff I've seen have made me think, no, this is so much who you are when you're sober that you're always thinking about it.
Well, I guess when you were a drinker, it was a big part of your identity.
Well, that's true.
And
that's true.
You spent a lot of time thinking about where the next drink was coming from. So when you're not drinking, even if you've never drunk, to be honest, it is still something you would think about a bit.
Yeah.
Even because you get invited to a party and you think, everyone there's going to be drunk. Should I go? Shouldn't I go? It's a really good video on the BBC at the moment from a Muslim guy about, do you decide to go to Christmas parties or not with your staff Christmas parties because they're such boozy events.
Yeah.
So I imagine that every now and again, even if you're Muslim and don't drink for religious reasons, that you would think about it and go, well, I feel left out. I feel like this doesn't accommodate me.
Yeah.
And then just like anything else, when you've had a health condition that's affected you, you tend to be more conscious about what needs to change in the world. So in the same way as I've got friends who've had diabetes or have had HIV or any of those things, you do become a little bit of a campaigner in your own sphere because it's something that's affected you and you can suddenly see what some of the issues are. And so you could decide that you want to, I'm going to find our Hack Pack cards. Where's our Hack Pack cards? Here we are. You could decide to get some of our Hack Pack cards, which are free to order on our website.
Okay, just describe what they are then for anyone who's not watching.
I just got someone to pass me them. You can leave them at a pub or bar. One of them says, thank you for being a great place for mindful drinkers. Why don't you sign up your venue to clubsodaguide.com, which is our pub guide. And the other one says, times are changing. So stock more low and no alcohol drinks.
Nice.
Have a look at clubsodaguide.com and see how you score. So you could decide that you want to do big things in this space, like you have Janie, or that you might want to occasionally just raise your head above the parapet, or that, we've got members who've been with us for the whole 5 years and they're now volunteers in Club Soda. They want to help other people back in return, which means that keeps them, they feel keeps their sobriety in check.
Yeah.
So it does vary for everybody. And, people come and go from Club Soda for all sorts of different reasons, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, great. Just to share a couple of the stories from the book then, just the bare bones of them, just to inspire us.
Yeah, so we've got I share my story, so you've heard a bit of mine. Yusuf, my co-founder, shares his, and so he's a very mindful drinker. I think he probably drinks the equivalent of about 5 pints of beer a year. He occasionally has a half, and he did something that I could never do, right? We were at an event and they were giving out these little tiny mini bottles of gin, one single serve of gin, and he's picked up one for Christmas. Oh, that'll do me for Christmas. I'm like, God, that would never have done me for Christmas. It was probably not do me for Christmas. So he talks about how that was part of a change that he did when also bringing a lot more, he does a lot of mindfulness meditation in his life. Then you've got Butch from the States, who Club Soda members will know well. He's a truck driver in his mid to late 50s, and has completely changed his drinking, which, you can imagine it's a very manly job, and drinking is an important part of that. He shares his story of changing drinking, and there are people in here who have changed for different reasons. So Anya changed her drinking firstly for sport and then for health reasons, and she works in the industry, and so working in a brewery and deciding to change your drinking was a very particular challenge.
Yeah.
There are actually different case studies in the book if you're American. So there's some extra American case studies, but they're all in the audiobook. And there's people like Ali, who's now got to 3 years alcohol free, and everything's changed around her life, around losing weight and getting fit and all of those sort of things. So
yeah. I'm guessing there's in addition to, I'm sure there's many benefits that come through from the book, but I'm guessing one thing that comes across is how ditching the booze can support you in having less anxiety. This is something that I've said many times was such a big surprise for me. I didn't even realize how anxious I was till I wasn't anymore, and I'm guessing that comes through loud and clear from people.
Yeah, on pages 98 to 99 and 112. So it comes through in the case studies, definitely lots of people saying they're less anxious. But actually we have a whole section on anxiety, the role that alcohol plays in anxiety, but also understanding how to live with anxiety without medicating it with alcohol. And so it's important to know that anxiety does exist, and that's understandable, and it's not going away, but that you can ditch the booze and learn to deal with your anxiety.
So what will people get from this book then? What's why should we get it?
Well, for me, it's the practical manual I always wanted to write, but not just practical from this, if you do all of these things, it will all be perfect, because we don't, everyone's different. So all of the tools in here should work for you, whether you're cutting down, stopping for a bit, or going alcohol free. There's practical stuff that tells you about all the things that you'll come across along the way and things that we've learned. So how to deal with ambivalence, how to deal with cravings and discomfort, how to deal with annoying mates, all of that sort of stuff, how to find a new different drink, and then personal stories to back all of that up. And then there's worksheets in there as well. So for me, it's definitely the very practical tool, but also the very real tool. It's got real advice and real stories in it, and real top tips from members to help you on your way. And for me, that's the book that I wanted to write, and not listening to me writing about my life, but about everybody's lives and how collectively that knowledge can help.
Yeah, excellent. Well, well done you. It's such an amazing project, and the work you've done is...
I've never had my name on a book before.
Oh, it's so exciting. It's like, it is. When I wrote my first book, I felt like I'd given birth again. It was amazing. It is amazing.
It is very
well
sad,
done you,
Janie, because I was more excited about the audio book.
That's good too. That's great.
I had very clear guidelines for them on my audiobook. So
good stuff. So just tell us where people can find you and all of that stuff.
So it's available from the 26th of December on Amazon, and so is the audiobook. And we'll have it for sale at the festival on the 18th and 19th of January at the Truman Brewery.
Yeah, so just tell us a bit about the festival then.
So
it's the Mindful Drinking Festival.
Yeah, it's a 2-day festival with over 60 brands there, giving you a taste of their alcohol-free drinks, and bring a suitcase on wheels so you can buy loads to take home with you. We've got a full lineup of amazing panels and workshops and speakers. So everything from, Janie, you're doing a talk on self-care, but there's a panel on how to holiday sober, one on how to socialize sober, with like a whole lineup of DJs basically talking about how they party sober. Stuff on parenting, some fireside chat with Clemmy Telford, who some of you would have seen on Instagram has gone sober in the last year as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully some other surprise guests. And then Camille from Amazon Wellness is doing free cocktail classes, as well as Liars are doing cocktail classes. Lindemans will be there with their wine. We'll be introducing a new beer called Upflow, and we'll be doing a beer tasting of the best beers at the festival. And who else? And we've got Old Moot Cider. This year, there's going to be more cider than ever before, which makes me, as a West Country girl, very happy. But I think there'll be at least 4 ciders on offer.
Amazing.
So, as alongside a whole load of spirits. I have to say, Liars, who are an alcohol-free spirit, they've got 13 alcohol-free spirits.
Wow. Well, you introduced me to that, and I hadn't tried that before, and that was such a good
they're running a full serve cocktail bar during the festival, so you'll be able to try their cocktails. And I have to say, I've tried quite a few, and they are amazing.
Great. So we should say this is a free event. Everybody's welcome. Do we have to book tickets for individual sessions?
No, it's all done on a turn up, first come, first served on the talks. But the festival is free to come to. If you go to mindfuldrinkingfestival.com, then also if you want to join Club Soda, that's joinclubsoda.com, and you can sign up to our emails and our newsletters and our podcast and all of those things.
Love it. Laura, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all the best with the book. I think it's going to be massively exciting year for you.
I hope so.
And maybe there'll be another one in a year's time or whatever's next.
Really?
So, yeah, but we'll speak before then.
All right.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Bye. Thank you, Laura. So I'm really looking forward to being part of the Mindful Drinking Festival. My session is 1:30 on Saturday, 18th. At the Mindful Drinking Festival, I'm talking about self-care in sobriety, so there'll be some tips and ideas for you there. And then hopefully I'll be going to the little event that they're doing in the evening as well. I'm hoping to be part of that. Sunday morning, I'm hosting a panel around sober holidays. Lauren from We Love Lucid is part of that. She does the amazing sober holidays in Spain. So really look forward to meeting some of you at the Mindful Drinking Festival. Please do come and say hi. The weekend before that is Champneys. Some of you are booked onto that. It's a really small group, but there is still space if you are interested. Yeah, that's kind of it. There's so much going on for me in January. If it is your dry January, stay connected, stay listening to the podcast, check in with us on Instagram, grab my little free PDF, 5 Reasons to Do an Alcohol-Free Challenge. And Happy New Year to you, and let's make 2020 just a fantastic, positive, sober year. Happy New Year. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast. I'm Jenny Grace. Please go to thesoberclub.com, listen to more podcasts, read our blogs, enter our competitions, grab yourself a free PDF, Self-Care in Sobriety, and check out our online community,